The new LinkedIn Hiring Pro can't undo your last hire. The human postponer. They were the master of one phrase. I'll circle back on that. But 3 months later, you were the one doing all their work and wondering how big that circle is. But LinkedIn Hiring Pro can take the hiring load off your plate by automating the hiring busy work from the initial job post to scheduling interviews. Hire right the first time with LinkedIn Hiring Pro. Post a free job today at linkedin.com/quality.
This episode is brought to you by Accenture. When your advertising operations fall out of sync, everything else follows. Spotify and Accenture are working together to reinvent the rhythm of ad sales, using automation, analytics, and smarter workflows to simplify campaign delivery and access better data across the business. The result? Less time spent on operations, more time connecting brands with the moments and fandoms that matter most. Learn more at accenture.com/Spotify.
This is the Weekend Check-In from the Modern Taoist with Kip Man. Join the absolutely free Modern Taoist community on Patreon at patreon.com/The Modern Taoist. And now, Kip Man.
Hello, and welcome to the Weekend Check-In. For the Modern Taoist, my name is Kip Man. And I hope that you're having a fine week as we approach the end of it here in the United States anyway. Some of you are listening in other places. You may be already into your weekend fully. One of the things I want to remind you of as you're heading into your weekend is that, well, I probably don't need to remind you of it. You'll probably just, when I say it out loud, you go, yeah. There is a voice that we have that runs in our heads. And we don't even really ever question it. It just is kind of there. And it's this voice that tells us all of the things we've done wrong. You shouldn't have said that 3 days ago. The plan that you're working on is never going to work. That person over there, they don't particularly like you. That opportunity that's you're hoping for, yeah, that's going to fall through. You're so far behind where you should be by now, it's ridiculous. Right? That voice brings us this like assessment, and it speaks to us like an authority figure, like it knows. It's got this tone of somebody who has done all the research and arrived at the only reasonable conclusion: you suck. And unfortunately, many of us believe that. Because the person saying it is our own mind. And the assumption is that our own mind has access to information that would cause that decision to be correct. Taoism, it's really interesting that Lao Tzu thought about these things, thousands of years ago. Because the mind has a very specific way of producing the most alarming available interpretation of any given situation. And he realized that. And he also realized that most people comply. Almost literally automatically. The same way an employee processes a memo from management without stopping to ask whether management even knows what they're talking about at all. Think of this situation. You wake up on a Saturday morning, and before you've done anything, before coffee, before the news, before the day has even moved in any direction, your mind has already generated an agenda because there was something from last week that needs to be relitigated. There's a conversation that you're going to have later that you are quite sure is going to go badly. There's these assessments of the coming week, and there's a balance sheet that's being filled out that you're predicting. You've been awake for 4 minutes and you're already deep inside 3 problems that aren't even going to happen until Monday or Tuesday. And you didn't choose to do that. You didn't sit down and decide to spend the first hour of Saturday morning going through this nonsense. Your mind decided this, produced this agenda, and you picked it up and started working through it like your boss told you to do it. This is a reminder for you to stop being an employee of your own mind. Because that's what this means to be an employee of your own mind. Right? The mind issues the directive and you execute it. And neither one of you know whether it's the right thing to do or not. The Tao Te Ching's interest in stillness, as I try to tell you all the time, is not about achieving a quiet mind. That's misreading. That's misreading something, and it ends up making the practice sound really dull. What Taoism is pointing at is the cultivation of a different relationship with your mind's output. One in which the thoughts are noticed rather automatically, but they're noticed and then observed rather than acted upon. Your mind is a pattern recognition machine. It takes incoming information, matches it to known patterns from past experiences, and produces a prediction. Can be useful sometimes, keeps you out of trouble sometimes, but it's also very limited. Your mind has learned from one bad situation and then applies that to every forthcoming situation. You had a bad relationship once, that printed on your mind. Patterns, as we've talked about over and over, override evidence. So you need to step out of the employee relationship that you have with your mind. Your mind is not your boss. You do not have to obey automatically everything your mind says. You can notice what your mind says, recognize where it's coming from, and then decide whether it is the right move or not. Everything in Taoism is always about recognition, waiting, deciding, then acting. So it's not even a one-step gap. There's 4 steps in there. Your starting point is not meditation. It is notice when your mind starts bossing you around. Saturday morning, Sunday morning, whenever you're listening to this is a good place to start. Because that's a moment where there are no external pressures producing these thoughts. These are thoughts that just arrived. It's a perfect time for you to notice. Whatever the mind generates first thing in the morning is being generated entirely from its own material. You've given it no input whatsoever. And that makes it very easy to see and to begin to train yourself to see these directives. So this weekend, when your mind hands you your agenda, before you start working through it, name what it is. Not the content of the agenda, but the category. Is your mind rehearsing a past event? Is it predicting a future problem? Is it running the "you're just not good enough" assessment? You don't need to know the content, just the category. What category is your mind opening up right now? Don't decide whether your mind is right or wrong. Just recognize the category. Recognize the process. You are not obligated to work every shift your mind schedules. You are not required to attend every meeting your mind decides you have to have. You are not required to accept every assessment that your mind produces. Your mind is not your enemy. It's not your boss either. It's kind of like that colleague or that friend at school or the next door neighbor that just oversteps. So learn when to say, I see what you're doing here. And I'm going to actually look at the situation before I decide whether or not I'm going to listen to you. Do not be an employee of your own mind. Follow the show so you don't miss the good stuff Tuesday mornings when we do the big episode of The Modern Taoist. And if you know somebody that's working full time from a bossy mind, let them listen to this. Send one this way. Find us over on Patreon. It's patreon.com/The Modern Taoist. Or you can check us out on the website, DAOANANDA.com or .org. It's daoananda.com or .org. If you're interested in private guidance, there's an opportunity there for you as well. There are some openings. And in the meantime, please like, subscribe, follow on whatever platform you have to be listening, and we'll talk to you next time on The Modern Taoist.
Thanks for joining this weekend check-in from The Modern Taoist with Kip Man. Like, follow, and subscribe on this platform for new episodes every Tuesday. And join the free Patreon community at patreon.com/themoderntaoist or visit us online at daoananda.com.